How self-aware do you think you are? How good are you at saying you're sorry? How open are you to receiving feedback? These are three questions that I experience in all my years with working with people, leading teams, having a master's degree in spiritual psychology and applying that lens for over 2 decades on everything I do. I find that those are essentially some of the most simplest but basic questions that cross over all humans. A lot of us think we are self-aware, but if we're not employing that awareness in how we live and adjusting, updating, shifting, being mindful, walking in that in a very awake way, then it's not really being self-aware. If we struggle to acknowledge when we miss the mark, when we buck up, if we don't know how to say we're sorry at all or without some kind of disclaimer, that is an opportunity. That is keeping you from having deeper, more profound, intimate, just better relationships. If you are not open to receive feedback, if you haven't figured out how to do that so that you can use that for your own growth, if you are in any position of power or leadership or responsibility over others and they don't feel like they can come to you, that is a real problem. That is one of the biggest challenges that is happening all over the world. The reason why we often cannot really handle feedback very well is because we're pretty insecure. There's a lot of insecurities operating inside of us. That's part of the human journey. In my experience and what I've been studying for over 2 decades, a lot of that stems from the fact that we are not taught how we operate. We're not taught how to help ourselves heal. We're not taught how to self-soothe. We're not taught how to love ourselves when that loving isn't, we're not getting it. Those are all things that we've put in probably $1 billion self-help industry, and we stigmatize as woo, and we stigmatize mental health. Like, we've done all these things, but those are essential. Those are like basically buying a car and not getting a manual and not ever really knowing like when it needs service. When it starts acting up, you just go somewhere maybe, or until it falls apart. Like, it's the most asinine things I've ever heard of that we do this, but it's at the heart of why you may not really be self-aware, of why you don't know how to say sorry, of why you struggle to receive feedback. Because if you don't already know yourself, if you don't already have ways of healthily working with yourself, then it's difficult to allow somebody else in that way. It's challenging. If you don't know how to acknowledge when you've made a mistake and you don't have to make yourself a terrible person, then it's difficult to say you're sorry. One of the skills and practices that has changed my life is a practice called neutral observation. And it has allowed me to become so aware of myself and of surroundings so that I can actually not only grow and learn and do something with what I'm observing, because you can be basically like a social scientist, especially in the beginning when you're learning this practice, but it has given me space and altitude, and it's slowed things down in many, many ways. So I don't have to be caught up in the reaction of everything. I can like zoom out and see things. But it's also allowed me to appreciate and be compassionate with my own humanity. So neutral observation is the practice of literally observing yourself, of having a journal by your bedside, and every night for a while until this becomes more natural, you just acknowledge before you go to sleep, what did I notice today? That's it. No diagnosis, no judgment, no evaluation. What did I notice about myself today? It could be everything from like how you woke up, how that impacted you, how you handled a situation with somebody, something that happened that triggered you, how you started to lose energy at a certain time. All of that becomes powerful data of understanding yourself. And then eventually that can expand. You can be in environments and really observe things without a whole chatterbox of what everyone's doing right and wrong, but just observing it. But reason why I bring this forward is because if we could accept the fact that there's no way to get through this human life without making mistakes, that is the way that we learn, that you trial and error, and there's no perfect person and perfect life, but we have made mistakes of all shapes and sizes, shameful, that we even hide them from ourselves. And as a result of that, we are not growing. We are not healing. We're like basically piling on all those situations because everything that happens, it impacts you. You are a feeling human. You have a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, all of that is who you are. When those things happen, you don't just forget about them and that's it. They go somewhere. They live somewhere inside of you. Where do you think disease comes from? Dis-ease. It's not just something that happens. We have propensities for illness because there's parts of us that are not operating healthily and whole because our body absorbs how we feel. There's plenty of research about the brain and the heart and all these things, and I'm not going to get into that because that's not my expertise. But this is real. If you do not if you do not lead yourself on a personal growth path that is really intentional, then you will live your life just accumulating experiences that a lot of them can be things that don't feel good and they're living in your body. Well, after time, that's hard. That does wear on you. That's not what you're intended to do. As a human race, as a society as we know it, mistakes are shameful. We hide them even from ourselves. And it's difficult to move on from things if you don't address them, if you don't acknowledge them, if you don't work through them. And we have a ginormous opportunity to release that shame, to acknowledge that. And neutral observation is actually a powerful tool that can help you start to neutralize how you relate with yourself. That doesn't mean that you just agree to everything and you don't have a pulse and you don't care. No, it's a perspective that becomes a power skill. It's a tool that helps you be able to literally hold a space that is invisible, but it's powerful because you are an energetic being and we all are. And it can shift consciousness. I would love to hear if any of this landed. If you'd like to hear more about this, wanted to share it. It was present for me today, and it's definitely part of my heart song and part of my mission and manifesto. I don't believe that I made it up. I believe I came here to deliver this message because it's been building in me since I was a teenager. Now I'm finally embracing it. I hope this is useful. Thank you for listening. My name is Jennifer Herrera. I appreciate you so much. Until next time.